Fabulous. So, good evening, hello, and welcome to my, I guess it's bit of an experientially kind of workshop um, around healing your inner child. And for me, I guess it's taking a journey with your inner child. So, thank you very much for being here. And I guess I would say that whenever you are watching this, if you are watching it, you are supposed to be watching it. It's for a reason. So, I hope you enjoy the journey. I have definitely enjoyed the journey of creating this workshop. So thank you very much for being here. And I am dedicating this journey to my inner child, beautiful little Amy, who was often told that she was a failure and she wasn't worth much and she wasn't going to get very far. And the girl that sat at the back of the classroom just hoping that nobody would ask her any questions or see her. And here I am today. So I'm starting by saying that anything is possible, and with the healing and the love that we give ourselves, everything can change. And I would love to dedicate this journey to everybody that's watching it and your inner child as well. So please bring your inner child with you as we take this journey. And I'm going to invite you to just take a few moments to connect to yourself and bring forward your inner child so that she may be with you on this journey. So I'm just going to lead a very small meditation to bring your inner child forward. So I invite you to just close your eyes where you are and just take a moment to relax and breathe and connect to your breath. So just wherever you are, if you just get present, allow yourself to let go of everything that is outside of you and outside of this moment. And just start to connect to your breathing and your breath as it flows in and out of your body. Just follow your breath. There's no need to change it. And just feel your breath as it flows all the way through your body. And start to feel that connection to yourself. Ground yourself in this moment and in this space. And slowly take your attention to your heart. Just feel the beating of your heart as it pulses through your body. Therein lies the connection to your soul, to that beautiful child. Take a moment to invite that step forward and be with you through this experience. And open your heart to allowing whatever may come up for you as we take this journey. Allow that child to feel what they may feel, think what they may think, and allow yourself to be there, to hold that child as we journey through this experience. This is a space for you to honor everything that you are and everything that your child is. This is a moment for you to step back into your innocence and the love that you always have been, are, and will be. Just bring your attention back to your breath. When you are ready, you can open your eyes. So, the story begins at the beginning. And this is me in my child self when I was born. And for me, this is where our human experience and our soul journey starts for this lifetime. And for me, this is where a lot of my fear-based experience of life began. Because at this point, we get to be that blank slate upon which the story is written. And in my experience, a lot of what I experienced and what I saw around me was fear-based, it was control, it was abusive, it was neglectful. And that is what started to build the story of who I thought I was. So this was the point where I started to become the experiences that I had going on around me. And a lot of the people that I encounter, a lot of the souls that I work with, that is where it begins, and that is where it starts to happen, because we start to form this story about ourselves through the experiences that we are having around us. I think one of the biggest experiences from where I was a child, which has stayed with me, and even though I wasn't aware that I was experiencing it, was when my mum told me that she would leave me alone in the cot as a child and she would go out shopping or whatever she had to do. And she would laugh about it. For her, it was quite a funny thing. It was like, oh, just leave you there. Because the offshoot of that, she would tell me, is that you were such a quiet child, Amy. You would never make any noise. You'd just sit there and you'd be really, really quiet. And all these other kids would be kicking off, but you were really, really quiet and you just sat there in the corner. And that is definitely an experience that has stayed with me throughout my life. That I often can end up sitting in the corner and being very, very quiet. Because I'm afraid that I might be abandoned or rejected if I make too much noise, or left behind if I make too much noise. So this was where my experiences of compliance and people pleasing and being unworthy began when I was a small child. So my parents had a lot of conflict in their relationship with each other. And that led to me being really, really scared a lot of the time. And I often got told that it was because of me, that they were arguing because of me, because of money, because I wanted something and they would argue because my mom didn't want me to have it and my dad wanted to give me everything. So it was at a really young age that I started to believe that I was the cause of a lot of the issues that were going on between me, between my mom and my dad. And so at a young age, I started to try and please people. And I started to minimize who I was. And I didn't want to make a lot of noise. And I just wanted to do what I was told in the hope that it would stop the arguing. And for a lot of us, those are the experiences we take on board that start to condition us, that start to become our beliefs about who we are and how we have to behave. And those are the things, as we go on our inner child healing journey, that we really need to understand, acknowledge, and heal from. And as we step into our adult, and as we step into our journeys of healing and stepping forward, we take these experiences into every area of our life. I know for me, the experiences I had in childhood, the beliefs, the conditionings, the learnings that I had came into every situation and every relationship that I had. And there were triggers for me all over the place. So it wasn't until I stepped into my journey of healing, until it was intentional, that no, I had to do something different for myself. Because there was a long period of time where I just felt angry at my parents and I was a victim. So I would be like, well, I'm just like this. I'm just like this because of them, because they did this. And I got into these abusive relationships because of what they did. But to change the experience, I had to realize that I was the creator of my life and not a victim. And it's a choice, because we get to create ourselves every single day and in every single moment. But to do that, we need to take responsibility, because up to a certain point, yes, we are a victim to what is going on around us. But after a certain point, it is up to us to make those changes. Otherwise, we become the victim of ourselves. And that for a long time is what became. So it is really about making a choice and making the decision to do something differently. So some of the things that are really useful to reflect on, and that I have reflected on a lot myself, and that I work with my clients, is what do we actually learn about ourselves as children from the experiences that were going around us, that the relationships that we witnessed around us. What is the story of your childhood, and what story did you form about yourself because of those experiences? What did you learn as a child about yourself? Because we start to tell a story about ourselves because of what's going on around us and how we may be treated and the way that people talk to us. So I learnt from abusive experiences as a child that it was okay for people to treat me like that, because the main characters in my story, as I saw them, treated me like that all of the time. So it was okay for me to be. Watching abusive relationships told me that's how relationships really work. Love hurts, and it's painful, and it's confusing, and it's abusive. And that's what I took forward as my experience. And the thing is, until we know better, we don't know better. So it's really about being able to forgive ourselves until we get to that point of knowing better and allowing ourselves to have a different understanding of what is going on. So a great journaling activity or exercise is to write down what is your story as you remember it now. so that there can be an acknowledgement of this is what happened, an acceptance of this is what I went through, which then can lead into this healing for you. And it's not about the other people in that story, it's about you. It's about stepping back away from the emotion and just looking at the story as an observer rather than getting too emotionally involved in it in the first instance. And really stepping into that child and asking that child, what did my child learn about themselves through going through what they did? So we've got our learnings that are coming from our parents, our siblings, our extended family, our friends, the environment that we are living in, the school that we may go to, the religion, the culture, peers, society. And I know that for me, there was multiple layers. There was the fact that I was a woman, and I pretty much lived with a mother who was misogynistic, which in itself was extremely confusing because my brother was king. And it was very much like, no, this is how a woman should be in relation to a man. So it was really confusing because that's what I picked up. I made myself lesser than men. I thought they deserved to go above and beyond me, hence allowing them to treat me in the way that they did. So it's really important to understand those layers. But this was not a blame exercise. This is really about understanding you and understanding where you are in the now due to those experiences and how they're impacting you. Another thing that I learned was that's where my fear of religion came from, because my mum used religion as a tool against me. So when I was really, really young, she would say to me, even if I'm not there, God's watching you all of the time and he's taking account of everything, and good things happen to good people and bad things happen to bad people. So imagine when I got into abusive relationships, it was like, hold on, God must really hate me because I'm going through some really, really bad stuff. And I disconnected for a really, really long time. And it wasn't until a few years ago when my spiritual awakening started to happen. And I got to a point where I was on my knees and I heard the words, you're going to have faith now, or you're going to lose yourself. And it was at that point that I had to reconnect to myself in the first instance and have faith that there was something much bigger, because otherwise the journey felt totally pointless and just totally painful. So it's really important to understand those core wounds, particularly the mother wound and the father wound, because we carry them forward into our relationships when we aren't healing them and understanding them. And again, it's not about having to go out there and sort of, I haven't gone to my parents and gone, well, you did this or you did this. It's really about me healing me, because their healing is on them. So this is about you, because your child deserves that. Oh, yeah. And that's the whole premise for me, is that our human experience, our journey is self-centered. It is centered on us. We cannot fix anything that is outside of us. And the world that is outside of us that you are experiencing right now, it's a reflection of everything that's going on within you. And as soon as I learned that the world is an inside out job, and then actually the relationships that I was experiencing outside of me were a reflection of, and I came back to myself and the love and the child, and I healed that space in my heart, my relationships changed. They just started to change. And the ones that were toxic and abusive just fell away because I didn't treat myself like that anymore. And the journey is on us. And for me, that's one of the biggest things that people need to understand, is that self-love is radical self-responsibility. It is about, I need to go on the healing journey. I need to change what's going on within me, because the biggest battle I've ever fought is the one that's occurred within me. And it will always be the biggest battle. And for me, that's what warriors are. And I know that everyone watching this is that warrior. The warrior is the one that fights the battle within, because that's the biggest battle we ever fight. So it's about committing to yourself. It's about knowing that this journey will last for life. Because I get triggers all of the time. Like the other day, I was having a conversation with Anne about something, and it was about washing dishes. And it literally took me to a memory about how I had to clean my sink spotless as a child. Otherwise, I would get a beating when my mum would come home. So it's really about how you're loving yourself. And when those triggers come up, rather than abandoning yourself and rejecting yourself as you may have experienced as a child, it's about embracing yourself and acknowledging and going, oh, okay, that's where I learned that from, but what do I need in this moment? So question that you can reflect on is, how are you treating that child? The thing I see and observe the most, and I worked on within myself, is that ultimately I did the same way by my parents, by the world. I started to treat her exactly the same way. I abandoned her. I rejected her. I didn't listen to her. I suppressed her needs. I minimized her. I didn't let her express herself. I didn't trust, and she couldn't trust me. I didn't feel safe. Like I spent nearly 45 years of my life searching for security, safety, and comfort outside of me in all different ways. But I only truly found it when I came back home to me. That's when it made sense, because that's where the safety and the security and the comfort is. It's in you. So in the now, what I ask my clients to do often is to ask yourself, when you're in a difficult situation, a challenging situation, so what does your child need right now? What does that child need, want? What does that child deserve? What do they need to hear in this moment? Because sometimes it's just going within and saying, hey, you're okay, I've got your back. I'm not going to let anybody hurt you. I'm here for you. And it's okay to feel like this. And how are you loving that part of you? Because again, we often love our child self in the way that they were loved by the people around us. So for me, it's a really important question, a journal exercise. What did that child need when you were younger? What did they want? What did they deserve? Because that is what you need to bring into the now. That is what is going to help you when you're struggling and you're up against those challenges. Sometimes it's reassurance. Sometimes it's a bit of love. Sometimes it's an actual hug. You can just sit there and embrace yourself, to be heard. But connecting to that part of you allows you to give yourself what you want and what you truly need, because nobody else can come and give it to us. And when we give it to ourselves, that's when it makes the most sense. That's when it feels like it's coming from a space of love. And that is when we can finally and truly accept it from others. Because until we can give it to ourselves, how do we truly accept it from anybody else? If we can't love ourselves, how can we truly accept the love that somebody else is trying to give us? How do we? How can I trust other people? How can I trust other people? I don't think I can ever trust other people again. But it isn't about trusting other people. It's about trusting yourself. Because when you trust yourself and you finally listen to that intuition that's always been kicking off and telling you when you're in situations that are not loving of yourself, when you finally listen to it, when you finally trust that, then you're going to make the decisions from that space. So it's about trusting you in that first instance, not about trusting other people. Because your intuition, that child will lead you. Because how many times have you been in situations where you've pushed down that child that's going, hold on a minute, this doesn't feel okay? Or you've pushed down that intuition when it's gone, hold on a minute, something's not right, and this does not feel good to me. But we were taught that as children, right? We were taught, actually, you just have to go into that room and you have to be with these people, even if you don't like it. I was always taught to listen to elders because they knew better, listen to the adults because they knew better. And so that's what I continue to do, even when they hurt me, even when it was a violation of me, because that's what I was taught to do. So really, we can't go back and be reparented by our parents, but you have the opportunity to reparent yourself. And when I've aligned with the human experience and the soul journey, it's really about being able to do that. So I just got distracted by the chat. Thanks, Anne. It's okay. It's okay. I will do it at the end. I love it. 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 It's all good. It's all good. See, this is what being human is. And honestly, as a child, this would have just thrown me and I would have been really, really embarrassed. But this is the thing. This is what loving your child looks like. It's about allowing all of this and the chaos and all of it and being okay with it. And I would have been mortified if this had been a few years ago. But I'm like, yeah, so what? My child is like, okay, it's all good, because this is what real life looks like. This is what real life looks like. And I love it that it's on this slide as well, the reparenting bit. Yeah. It is really about reparenting yourself. You have the opportunity to do that. You have the opportunity to reparent your inner child, because it isn't anybody else's responsibility. And I know that that can sound really, really tough, and it can, I don't know, some people push against it. But the reality is, you're the only one that can take responsibility for that child now. And it's really about you giving that child what it needs. And in its bigger terms, it's about you giving yourself what you actually need. So how were you loved? Because that is how you're loving yourself. If you're not exploring it, if you're not showing up to it, if you're not checking in with it, if you're not being present to it, if you're not observing yourself on a daily basis, you're just repeating those patterns again and again and again. And how you were treated then is how you are treating yourself now. And the key to all of this is awareness. Like, awareness is the biggest gift that we have. To be the observer in any given moment of your life, like, it is the biggest gift that I have uncovered for myself. And I know that it is the biggest gift that I can give anybody that comes into my life and anybody that I work with. Just that, watch yourself, observe yourself in interaction when you're by yourself, because you will learn so much. It's in that you get to learn how you function, what's working for you and what's not working for you. But that takes a commitment. And that's the thing that people struggle with the most. So it is truly about dedicating yourself to you. Because when you parent, if you're a parent, even if you're a parent of a pet, it's like you are there, you are observing, you are watching, you are loving, you don't abandon. So this is about showing up for yourself how you wanted to be parented. Because only you can do that now. So it's about getting present. Moment and being there for yourself as you wanted others to be there for you. So I know this is being recorded, so, and I know that I'm kind of having to go through it because it's a workshop, but once the recording is there, I guess you can go back, or you can take a screen photo of it if you want to, and write down anything you might want to write down, because it will be on the Odyssey platform. There we go. Slid it in there. Yeah, it will be on the platform, so you will be able to go back to it. But really, it's about thinking about, what did my child need? What did my child really, really want? And a big part of it when we are children is these things. It's love, it's trust, it's safety, it's comfort, it's security. It's that being able to listen to yourself, to really listen to yourself. And that takes stillness, that takes silence, that takes going within and having an understanding of what you are going through and being there with compassion for yourself rather than telling yourself off. It's an acknowledgement. It's knowing that you are worthy just for your very existence. You don't need to do or be any singular thing to be worthy. It is understanding that you are of value. It is validating all of yourself and all of your experiences. It is witnessing yourself. It is honoring yourself, and it is nurturing yourself. Because we need those things as the child, we need those things as the adult. And for me, and I know I'll say this to Anne, forever, we are already told by this world that, okay, now you're an adult because you've hit 18. But essentially, I will forever be that child. Like, that child part of me is always there. That's where I began. And I will always need all of these things. But I need to give them to myself before I can accept them or receive them from any other space. So without you being able to give your child and yourself these things, you're not going to get them from anywhere else. And even if you get them from anywhere else, as you may already know from your experience, you question it and you don't trust it. Because you're like, oh, really? Why are you acknowledging me? What do you want from me? Why are you giving me this love? What do you want? Do you want something in return? So it's about you giving it to yourself first. Because then you will believe somebody else was able to give it to you. And it's about reconnecting and remembering what it is to be a child. In this world that we live in, our conditioning as a society is to become adult and live in this fear because you've got so many things to do. You've got to be all of these responsible things. And we move further and further and further from that childlike sense of awe and wonder and magic and play and fun and curiosity. Because being a child is about exploration, it's about passion, it's about joy, it's about creativity. It lies ahead of you. So I'm going to ask all of you, wherever you're watching it, to take the time to play, to take the time to be curious rather than to be judgmental. Be curious about yourself, about life, about other people. Explore the possibilities that are available to you, because our soul expansion is about that joy, is about living in passion and creativity and the possibility that we have. So for me, when I reconnected to my soul journey, it was about that. It was about expanding into that joy and that passion and that creativity, because I had lost all of it and I had lost the expression of myself. This journey is about allowing yourself to be the fullest expression of you. And when you're a child, you're splashing puddle, what you don't care what other people are saying about you. If you fall over, you get up and you try again. You don't get stuck in, why did it happen to me? How did it happen to me? You experience it, you get up and you go to the next puddle. You go fall over all over again. And it's okay. Make it okay to have all of those experiences. Make it okay to fall and get back up and try again. Allow yourself to reconnect to the magic and the wonder of life, because that's what this life is truly about. And our child reconnects us to all of those things. So I challenge people to go and have a play date with yourself. Sit with your child, think about something they loved doing, whatever it might be, and go do it. One of the things that I have started doing more and more is, when I was a child, I wasn't allowed to get messy. I wasn't allowed to kind of play in anything that was out of control or disorganized. I had to put everything away neatly. So now when I go for walks and it's raining, I go and step in the mud and I love it, because the child in me just literally comes out and is like, oh my God, I get to be messy. So go and allow yourself that freedom. Come out of all those boxes that you have created for yourself and reconnect to that sense of wonder and awe and possibility. So there are various things that you can do. One of the things that is a beautiful exercise is to write a letter to your child self. Take the time to connect to yourself, as we did at the beginning, through a little meditation or just a heart connection. Open your heart, take a piece of paper. And this is not a thinking exercise, but it's really about just connecting to that heart space and allowing yourself to flow. And it can be a letter from your child to you now, or reverse. It can be you writing letters to that child. So take the time to do these things for yourself, because you deserve them and you owe it to yourself. Another thing that I do all of the time is journal and speak to my child through my journaling. Connect to that child daily, because that child hasn't disappeared. They are with you all of the time. Play. Honestly, go and play. Take away the barriers to play. Whether that is, I don't know, going and making a sandcastle in a sand pit, taking out your Lego, I don't know, whatever it might be. Like, I used to love dressing up when I was a kid and I didn't often get to do it. Go and dress up. Like, part of my play is my hair. I have purple hair. My tattoos are part of my play, because these are things I wasn't allowed to express myself in that way. So I express myself through those things. To allow yourself that freedom, especially if you weren't given it, especially if your childhood was very, very controlled. Give yourself that freedom to explore every part of you to go forth and try things that you weren't allowed to try. Because they're not bad. That's your fear. So it's about taking yourself from that space of fearing it to being able to try it. Hug yourself. This is something I do every single day. I sit there and I give myself a hug. Not only for my child self, but this self that I am now, because it's about connecting. I didn't get a lot of physical affection as a child. It wasn't something that was done. But I love physical affection and tactility. So I hug myself on a daily basis. And spend time with your child. Take her for a hot chocolate with marshmallows. Take her to the cinema. Like, do for yourself. Time. Like, I don't know how, but I never got that time. My parents worked. My dad left when I was young. So actually, I spent a lot of time by myself. And I wasn't heard. I wasn't listened to. So I spend time with my child. And I listen to her. I give her the space that she needs to be heard. So go and spend some time with your child. And that is where we are at. So it is truly an honor to be a part of this space that I'm in now. And it makes me really emotional actually at this bit to kind of say everything that I went through and reconnecting to that child allowed me to go on the journey to get to the space that I'm in now and be a part of the beautiful space that is Odyssey. And you can find me on there and you can find what I do on there if you want more information and you'd like to kind of dive deeper into any of this. Yeah, and there is a lot going on that platform. And I'm going to unmute Anne so she can join in at this. Okay, you can unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Fabulous.
I can hear you.
Thank you so much, Amy. It's been an honor to have you here, and I know the work that you do and what you specialize in. That feels absolutely brilliant. That's why we've got you as part of Odyssey, and that's why you're joining us, and that's absolutely brilliant. Sorry, I didn't realize that me chatting on that box, you could see me typing away, so I do apologize.
It's all right. It's all right. It's fine.
I have a question. So
yes.
with people now who are listening to this, whether they're listening live to this or on the recording, we are therapists. So for us, we are used to that terminology of the inner child. We're used to that terminology. And I just wondered, for those people who may not be so aware of that understanding of the inner child, what is it? How can they identify that it is actually this, maybe that wounded inner child of them, or it's just how they're feeling today in their everyday life? How would they know? Like, we're talking about people that are not therapists, people who maybe have never been in therapy at all, but are inquisitive of the fact that we've called it the inner child. What's the theory around this? Why does it need healing? What are the signs? How would they identify?
As I experience it and through my work, that's where our wounds begin. That's where a lot of our wounds are. So the things that we struggle with the most on a daily basis, the way that we approach the world, the way that we show up stems from that space. The way that I tell myself I am usually comes from that space that I learnt when I was a child. So it is actually the foundation of the way that we step into the world on a daily basis. So the things that are holding you back, the way that you are showing up in relationships, those things are rooted in what we experienced at the beginning of our life.
Yeah. Good.
So for me, it is actually the basis
yeah
of how we are in the now.
and it's trying to make sense, isn't it, how we interact with our world around us now. And
Yes.
yeah, in relationships, if we are becoming parents, how we parent our children, the relationships that we go into, about us receiving love. So yeah, you're right, it does totally stem from the experiences of that. So yeah, it's so right.
Yeah.
So people, if they don't realize that a lot of the trauma or any experiences through their childhood and what they would have needed, like you as you put out about what you might have needed as a child, and what you would have wanted to receive. So I like that. I love that list that you created about what it is that you do need. That was really important. I liked that. And I wondered if then that's what you needed as a child, to be listened to and to be loved and to have that physical contact. So the opposite would be that then the children who didn't receive that, the hugging, the love, and like you said, with your experience as a child yourself, that's where not being touched or being told to be quiet and not being acknowledged, that's where some of the issues can come from in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a projection, right? Like for me, it's almost, I was parented from my parents' inner child.
Yeah,
The
yeah, yeah,
things that they were lacking, that's what they projected onto me
yeah,
as they parented me. And that's why healing that space is so important, because we then take it forward and that's what we project into our relationship. So really it's about stopping and looking at how we are as people and why we are the
yeah.
way that we are.
Yeah, it's that recognizing, isn't it? It's recognizing that there's something going on that we may need some assistance with, like yourself working through Odyssey. That's something that you're going to do, working one-to-one with clients, helping on their soul journey, helping them to connect and work through that, so that it's almost like clearing that slate, clearing that space, ready for people to move forward into loving relationships and to be able to accept them themselves. Makes so much sense.
I, you know, not staying the victim of life,
Yeah,
and my parents are still in that space where it's like they are a victim of life,
yeah, yeah, totally.
but it's a choice to step in to that space of going, no, I'm not going to be that anymore. That's not what I want to be. I
Yeah.
want to create a whole different experience of life. And that
So,
comes with that exploration of who you are and
yeah.
why you are the way that you are, because it's not true that we are just this way.
Yeah, you're so right. And that you mentioned about from that list is also about that worthiness and confidence, the signs that we're, how we're showing up in the world as we are now as the adults. If the inner child has been wounded or through some trauma, we might show up of not having the confidence, feeling unworthy, putting ourselves forward, the imposter syndrome, all those things attached to it. So that's why, as you say, it's really important to do that work now, as we recognize there is something that we need to look at for us to recover it. And we spoke about this before, for then us to go into loving relationships ourselves, and then if we become parents as well. So yeah, it's so true.
Absolutely. Yes, because the unhealed parts of us, especially in our relationships, those are the things that we're constantly projecting.
Yeah,
We feel like we can't be open. We feel like we can't be vulnerable because we feel like we have to protect that child.
yeah,
And we put up all these walls and barriers as we get older and older and older, and it just becomes an armor, which means
yeah.
that nobody can get in either. And we
No.
can't allow ourselves to experience the fullness of love in any relationship.
Yeah, we stop growing. I wonder then if they, I really appreciate you doing this today and giving this talk. And I wonder if there's anybody who's listening to this right now that has any questions or anything about what you've mentioned. If there is anybody that has any questions for you now, we'll sort of wait to see if anyone's typing away or whatever. But it'd be useful if there is anyone there that would like to ask us anything right now. And if not, they can always ask us or send us an email or something where they can come back to us later at a later time. That would be useful. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so there is nobody there that's typing right now. I can't see. You'll be able to see, not me.
Oh, hold on. Let me see. No, I think we're good for now.
That's great. So thank you, Amy.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone that is here. Thank you for being with me on this journey. And I hope that you can take something from this journey for yourself and show yourself the love that you truly deserve, and honor yourself and cherish yourself in the way that you deserve to be honored and cherished.
Lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we're done. Lovely.